So we're excited to have Sarah share with us, and you can go to next. And she is from Braxton Craven Middle School, and she is an awesome just educator, and she has a lot of great depth in her instructional coaching and what she does to teachers. So we're excited to have her come and share with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn the stage over to Sarah, who's going to share more about digital choice boards. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm excited to be here and a little anxious because I haven't run a Zoom meeting before. I've been to an awful lot of them, but since we have such a short time, I'll just give you a quick overview of what I wanted to share, and then we'll get right to it. We'll look real quickly at what digital choice boards are and why you would use one, and then look at how you might plan for and implement a digital choice board. I do have access for you to the presentation and all the materials that I'll talk about at a bit.ly here. And I think Brittany will probably drop that in the chat for you so you can have access to it. So just to get started, really a digital choice board is much like a paper and pencil choice board. The difference is it's going to have hyperlinks to materials for your different choice activities. You might assign a certain number of these for the students to complete, and then of course they would complete it and turn it in digitally. It's a really neat way to get students to try out some interactive digital tools that you might not be able to use otherwise. Why would you want to use digital choice boards? Well, the real thing is to engage students in digital learning. Anytime we give our students choice, you're going to see their motivation go up. Also, with that choice added, they'll have deeper learning because they're more invested in whatever it is that they're doing. So when you're thinking about planning a digital choice board, I really think that this is the most important part of it. It's really fun when you get to actually engage with your students using the choice board, but planning for it certainly is the most important part. I always tell teachers to start with standards. What standards do they want to cover? What is that learning target? What do you want students to learn as they accomplish this? Digital choice boards are kind of fun. It's fun to create, and it's really easy to just make it all fun, cutesy activities that you put on there, which is nice to do once in a while, but really you want to focus on what that learning target is for your students. You'd want to think about then how you'd like to use the choice board to differentiate for students. At the easiest level, the simple choice that they're having will sort of differentiate on their own for interest. But you can always include different activities where maybe they have leveled text or different leveled type of activities to meet students' needs in terms of their learning needs. You can always include different activities that'll meet their different learning styles too. I like to always try to include something that's an artistic student would like, or a student who's interested in music would like. Again, just to up their interest and their motivation to do it. Besides focusing on the standards, I really recommend using a template to create a digital choice board, simply because it could take you a really long time to create these. If you have a template to use, you can kind of just fill in the blanks and it'll make it a lot quicker, where you're going to focus on that standard and what activities are supporting it. Then, of course, you want to think about what resources you're going to use or include. That's probably the lengthiest thing, is finding all the materials that you want to include in that choice board. Again, like I said, using templates is definitely the best way to go. And I've got a link for you here of a folder that's actually got some choice board templates in it. It has a template for a tic-tac-toe board, where you put in the text for what students would do, and then they would just click on whichever square they wanted to use to get to the activities. There's several different themed templates that I put in there. Some of them, I'm trying to think of, there's a baseball themed one. one that's sort of gamer themed, because I know we have a lot of students who are interested in that. There's also a template that is more of the actual menu style, like a restaurant menu, and one that's just simply a list menu, which is, you know, here's the list of things you can choose how many ever of them to do. When you get ready to implement this choice board, since you are making this in a digital format, you don't have to make copious copies of all the different pieces of paper and things like you would with a regular paper pencil choice board. You just share the choice board document with students, and then they can work from there. I really like creating these on a Google slideshow because then you can share it so that each student, once they open it up, it'll create their own copy of it, and they can work right on that slideshow itself. That way everything stays sort of contained together. When they're ready to share it back with you, all of their work will be right there in that same slideshow that you started with. We do want to make sure we give you a little bit of time for some questions also, but before that, I wanted to share some of my favorite tools that I use for choice boards. If you're not familiar with these, Canva is definitely one that is high on my list. If you're trying to create graphic type of images, anything, students can use this and really create some very professional looking either posters or social media type posts. I'm really impressed with the quality of what students can produce using that. Flipgrid is another great tool that you can use with these choice boards. It adds a little differentiation in terms of the output, you know, rather than having students write something as a response, they'll be able to make a recording, whether it's just a voice recording or a video recording in response. That's really useful for your students who might have trouble with writing. They can simply record their response to you and probably would be able to give you more content from them or more feedback from them than they would if you ever asked them to write. Another one that you're probably not familiar with is called breakyourownnews.com. And it is a newspaper headline generator. It is so fun. You can add in the headline for an article, and then you've got enough space to put really a short paragraph about whatever it is that you are going to write about. And then once you use that generate tool, it looks like an actual newspaper article with the headlines and all that. So it's a fun way to get students to write rather than just saying, write a paragraph about blah, blah, blah. When they can make it look like a real news article, it's just more fun. And then the last one on the list here I have is Pixton.com. That allows you to make comic strip type of activities. It's really easy for students to use, and it can integrate with your Google login, which is really nice. There's images and characters that students can choose. So your artistic students would really get into using this. And the nice thing is you can be artistic with it even if you're not very good at drawing, which I love. You can still make a comic with all the images, whether you can draw well or not. So that's kind of nice. Those, like I said, are my 4 favorite tools to try to always use. But it's good to, of course, change things up. If you're doing multiple choice boards a year, you don't really want to always use the same activities on it because, again, that'll just become everyday boring stuff for students at that point. Doing good. Okay. I talk faster than I realized. I guess that happens frequently. So definitely want to give you the chance for any questions that we might have. I'm going to try to take a look at the chat. We'll see if I can get there to, it might be easier if you just say your questions out loud even to me.
I can also moderate. So if you don't want to open it.
Okay. There we go. I've got it open here now. I always get lost in all many windows I have open on the computer. Definitely, if there's any questions you have about creating a choice board, if it's something you're interested in doing, really take a look at the link I gave you with the folder of templates to use. You can make a copy of those. And I'm so sorry. Delightful class change bell at middle school. Fun times. Anyway, but definitely take a look at the templates. It can give you a better idea of what to expect. There's even a completed choice board in there that you could look at or just take it and use it right away.
I have a question that maybe you can dig into. Going back to your vocabulary six-pack board, or, I've also seen this done with bingo, which may be in your templates. Mm-hmm. But how do you decide what goes in each box? If there's any differentiation or anything like that as you go?
That's a really good question. You have to be, you could just randomly put the things in the boxes, but you really would lose an opportunity to kind of force some differentiation for your students. I like to think about whatever row or direction the students might work in to try to include things that are different output styles, at least, so that they're not doing all three things where they make a picture of it, or all three things where they just write a paragraph, because you really want them to have that experience of using the material in different ways so that they'll have a better learning experience. All right, I see a question there. How does this compare to HyperDocs? Really, these are a HyperDoc. The difference is it's got kind of the fun added interest of being in some sort of a template like a tic-tac-toe game or a restaurant menu. That's really the difference, I would say, the added interest in that whatever type of template you might want to use. Let's see, I don't know if we have any other questions. If we do, that would be great. I know that we've got just a few minutes left. So I definitely can answer anything else you might have. And Brittany, if you've got other stuff that you could share, that would be fine with me as well.
Yeah, I can go ahead and go through the next couple slides and you can
okay. I will slide to that.
Yeah, so we're continuing to work through our FI Connect series, which will be ending at the end of May right now. Our last one, I think, is scheduled for May 25th. And so looking ahead, we want to ask you to fill out a quick survey, a feedback survey at the end of this session. So if you'll go to your next slide, I'm going to grab that link in just a half of a second. Yep.
Okay. And while they're looking at that, I see another question that came up in the chat asking about grade level, I guess the age for students what would be an appropriate age, I suppose, to do a choice board type activity like this. Certainly, if the students can read, that's going to make it a lot easier for them to do because most of the directions you're going to have in text. Although with the digital format, you could certainly put, instead of text for what to do, a button that they click in that space and then pulls up a recording of yourself asking them or telling them what you'd like them to do. So for students who weren't readers yet, I think you could still use it in another format.
Yeah, and I've seen them used, you could also split them between your hybrid. If you have hybrid students in class, could have differentiate or an actual physical list. I've seen lists on boards. I've seen lists online. Lots of different ways to do choice board. Absolutely. Yep, we use choice boards. It's very common in elementary. it's a very strong elementary. But I do think there's a lot of value for middle and high school too. I think sometimes we forget about giving choice to our upper levels, or it looks different. It looks like PBL, but sometimes giving simple choice boards to our older learners is also very valuable.
They definitely tend to be the ones that are difficult to get motivated. So any little trick you have that can add that interest is definitely valuable.
Yes, we will share the link to the presentation shortly. If you want to go to the next slide, I'll talk about what's coming up next.
All right, there you go.
So our next session, if you are joining us again, is going to be on Google Jamboard. It's going to be next Tuesday with Laura Fogel and Carrie Brown Parker. And they're going to be kind of talking through Google Jamboard. I'm sharing the links right now. It looks like it duplicated. Hold on. Don't want to give that much. Here you go.